Monday. I'm here with Zach and Dawson today. Different episode for us this week as it's a Sunday morning and we're going live for our preview show. But we were able to do this because it's a Monday night game this week. I love Monday nights. How are you guys feeling about the Monday night game? How was your guys' week?
Look, I'm always the advocate for this on this podcast. Like, I'm the big Monday Night Football guy. I love Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Manning Cast is really fun. But, like, honestly, Monday Night Football might be my favorite primetime. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, anytime we play on primetime football on a night game, I'm super pumped. It's always going to be a good time, and the stars always glow the brightest on primetime football. So, especially down in South Florida, well, not really South Florida, but down in Florida, Lamar and all the boys on the team are going to show out, and I'm super pumped. It's going to be a big time game.
Yeah, for sure. So we got Ravens 4-2 at Bucs 4-2. Got Buck and Aikman on the call. We had some talk about Dawson, I think, not loving that. But interesting news this week. You also got the Manning cast, and there's rumors. Well, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not yet, but apparently Joe Flacco and Ed Reed are going to make appearances on the Manning cast. You guys going to tune
awesome.
into that, or you sticking with the normal broadcast for this one?
I have a really hard time watching the Manning Cast whenever I'm a fan of the team I'm watching.
Yeah.
Like, if it's the Ravens. So, if it's other teams, dude, it would be a blast. But, I mean, shoot, this Flacco and Ed Reed, bro, like, that's two of our guys. Like, that makes me want to tap in a little bit.
Yeah, I would probably never really watch it, to be honest with you. I might tune in a little bit this time just because it's, like he said, it's our guys on there and it's our team playing. Hopefully we're up with a pretty comfortable lead where I don't got to sweat while watching it. So I would imagine everyone's with me on that. So we'll see. But it'll be interesting to see Ed Reed on there, Joe Flacco talking and kind of going game by game. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'll definitely be rewatching it to see some clips and all that. But I agree with you guys. As a Ravens fan, when the Ravens are playing, I just need it to be the normal broadcast. So that's kind of how I am. Weather-wise, it'll be 82 degrees. Don't think there'll be any precipitation. So still warm down there in Florida. Ravens favored by -3.5. Over-under is 49.5. So Vegas predicting a decently high-scoring game. A stat that we got to mention, every time the Ravens play an NFC team, Lamar Jackson now 22-1. Versus the NFC. We'll see if that can go to 23-1. Moving on to the injury report here, Rasheen Ali and Malik Harrison and Broderick Washington actually was just declared out. Arthur Millette, about a 50-50 shot to play his first game of the season here. That'd definitely be a valuable piece. And then Deontay Hardy has been placed on short-term IR. We learned that Mike Evans will be playing after there was initial rumors he'd be a game-time decision. Jamal Dean, solid corner for the Bucs, is out. And then two big names, Vita Vea and Rachaad White, are both questionable in this one. Any thoughts, guys, overall? We'll start with Zach on the injury report on the Ravens or the Bucs side.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Bucs. Vita Vea is an amazing player for the Buccaneers. Perennial Pro Bowl, All-Pro guy, and he just showed up on the injury report, I believe, yesterday. Rachaad White, big name for them, but he hasn't been really doing that much damage for their offense compared to the other running backs. Still a big name if he were to be out, but shoot, dude, those are two pretty big names. Along with Jamel Dean, those are key players for their defense.
Yeah, for it being week 7 on the Baltimore side of the injury report, I can't really say anything. I can't really complain, to be honest with you. But getting Arthur Millette back potentially would be great. Whether it's this week or next week, it's going to be one of the two. Hopefully, it's tomorrow night down in Tampa. But either way, that's going to be a big asset that is returning to this lineup, and we really need it, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, that's been a lacking performance issues over there, so that would help big time. The Buccaneers side, man, those are some pretty big names. Jamel Dean's obviously one of their some more solid corners. Vita Vea is their stud star defensive tackle, who's an absolute just tank, dude, and he can wreck games. So he showed up in the injury report yesterday. I think he did not practice. I think he suffered something in practice, so that's potentially he could be out. That would be huge. I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but obviously if he cannot go tomorrow night, that would be huge for Baltimore, and that would help them in a big time way. And Rachaad White, they're kind of running a committee backfielder now down in Tampa with Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker, and Rachaad White. So either way, it's a big time. It's a big running back for them as well. And if he can't go, that would kind of help us with the lack of experience there in the running back room. So nothing too crazy, but definitely an interesting injury report across the board.
Yeah, definitely on the Rachaad White side of things. He is not been as efficient as a runner, but he's great in the pass game and great in pass blocking. But like you said, Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving have both been really, really solid this year. So Ravens Bucks history, Ravens 5-2 all time versus the Bucks. So only 7 meetings overall. Last time was 2022. I think all you guys remember when Lamar held up the sign after the game, said pay him now. Ravens won 27-22, the final year of the Greg Roman offense. Isaiah Likely sort of had his breakout game in that one, 6 catches, 77 yards. And in that one, Lamar improved to 2-0 against Tom Brady and finished 2-0 against the GOAT. Any other memories for you guys? I remember the Joe Flacco 5 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then one of Lamar's first starts in 2018 against the Bucs. Those are kind of the games that come to my mind.
Did you just say 5 touchdowns in the first quarter?
Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That's insane.
That makes me want to just tap into the Manning cast a little bit more. Golly, man. They're going to be
that's going to be brought up. That's obviously going to be brought up. So that's going to be a topic of interest when you watch that. No, that game 2 years ago was awesome when Lamar held up the sign and stuff. That was kind of amidst all the drama of like, oh, the Ravens going to pay him. Oh, my God, he's in a contract year. He needs a big extension. They're not going to pay him. So that game was pretty cool because he went out there and obviously did what he's always done and just showed why he's deserving of the pay and deserving of that contract. But this game tomorrow night, man, I think is going to be an absolute just point fest. I think it's going to be take the over for sure, and I think it's going to be each team literally just trying to outshoot each other. So I think there's going to be a big time highlight tape come after this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. So getting to the Bucs offseason moves. Baker Mayfield extension, who's been very, very solid quarterback for them, kind of a career resurgence, 3-year, $100 million deal. That's really cheap for the play that they're getting out of him. They re-signed Mike Evans, and they signed Randy Gregory as they lost Shaquille Barrett. So let's get into a discussion here. We'll start with the Bucs offense versus Ravens defense. Zach, you want to start us off here with these stats you got?
Yeah. The Bucs are 9th in total yards and the top 10 in both rushing and passing. So either way, they attack you, it's going to be efficient. They're second in scoring, 29.7 points per game. It's tied with the team we played last week, the Commanders. And right now they have who some of you guys might know as the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football, Chris Godwin. 7 receptions, 86 yards per game. He's going off this year. And that is also a factor with Baker being his quarterback, but they've had a connection that's on a different level. Mike Evans been a little more quiet this season. He's still as dangerous as ever, but Chris Godwin is really shining through 6 weeks. Last week, they had 277 rushing yards last week. Like, what were they eating? Like, the Saints are in a real bad spot right now, but they took advantage of them. 7.9 yards per carry. That is about 4 more than what the Ravens defense allows right now. I mean, that is the key stat to look for this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a big time matchup, especially because the Ravens are number 1 in rushing yards allowed per game. The Ravens run defense is absolutely incredible. And I'm not saying we have played any, elite backs, game-changing top-tier backs this season, but our defensive line and defense as a whole has not allowed anything to get going on the running side part of the game. The offenses just have been stalled out by our defense as far as rushing the ball. So, like I said, Tampa's got a committee back there with 3 solid running backs. I mean, you don't got a game changer or a game breaker, but you have 3 very solid running backs who can get it done. And it's going to be interesting to see how they attack this defense, knowing that our strength is against the run and our weakness is against the pass. And it's an offense that has been thriving in both, to be honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see if they really do try to establish that run game, even though they know it's going to be tough, or they really just go pass heavy in this matchup and try to exploit this defense who's just been getting gashed, I feel like, every week now.
Yeah, like we've touched on a little bit, Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving both had massive games last week. Bucky Irving's been solid all year. The Bucs haven't been able to run the ball. They've been able to throw the ball. They put up 51 points on the Saints last week. The Ravens haven't even scored 51 points in a game this year. This Bucs offense has been really solid. Zach, you mentioned it. Ravens and Bucs actually are averaging the same amount of points per game right now on the offensive sides of the ball. So very similar offenses we're looking at, not in terms of style, but in terms of production. And Chris Godwin already has over 500 yards receiving. It might not seem as crazy with Derrick Henry having over 700,
700.
700 yards rushing already. But yeah, Godwin is the wide receiver one in fantasy, 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, 43 receptions on just 53 targets. So him and Baker have been really, really efficient this year. It'll be interesting to see how the Ravens secondary holds up. You got Godwin and Evans. Ravens have mightily struggled against number one receivers this year, and you could argue that the Bucs have 2 of them, along with a good running attack and a good offensive line and a quarterback who's playing really, really good football right now. So we'll see. We'll see.
And I want to add, Baker has been a phenomenal quarterback so far this year. But with last week, they destroyed the Saints, and I believe he threw for what? 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like,
Yeah.
that's not only the most Baker stat ever in a win, but also like that's winning them games. 51 points and you throw 3 picks. That's like a Madden game on rookie mode, man. Like that's ridiculous. That's insane stats. I think the Ravens really are going to take advantage of stuff like that. I wanted, whenever we discuss this next kind of topic with the Buccaneers defense, they are very, very passionate. Todd Bowles, their head coach, very passionate about stopping the run. It's been their main point for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on the Bucs offense versus Ravens defense, guys?
Not really.
I just think it'll be interesting to see if, we saw on the mic'd up Kyle Hamilton coaching up Nate Wiggins last week. We saw last week against the Commanders, Brandon Stevens, who I think is having a really, really good season. Just can't quite make the play a couple times there. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Marcus Williams on the back end, Darius Washington, played a lot back there last week, dropped a pick, but he was in the right spot. But I think we'll just see if the Ravens secondary can get it going. But like you guys mentioned, Ravens rushing defense, I think they're allowing just 59 rushing yards a game,
Gosh.
which is, that's crazy. Is that we should have had it ready, but is that less than they allowed last year on the ground? I mean, it's been a lights out run defense.
I hope our defense is ready too, because this Buccaneers offense is going to try to get to us early and often, and they're going to try to get on us immediately because they don't want Derrick Henry to factor in the game, and they don't want us to have the lead where we can just quite literally run away with this game. So they're going to come at us early and often, man. And I hope this defense is ready because it's going to be a really tough test. And who knows? It might be their toughest test yet. I would say outside of Cincinnati. I mean, this is a really, really good offense that can shred teams through the air. So it's going to be very interesting to see how our secondary specifically, our defense as a whole, of course, but our secondary specifically, how they respond, because we have so many playmakers and so many good players, man, but just for some reason it's not clicking right now. It's not like we have a lack of the players. We have the players in place to make plays happen. It's just they're not playing to expectations right now. So hopefully this is a game where they can really come out, set the tone, and bounce back and kind of show everyone that they can still play at a very, very high level.
Yeah, definitely. Cannot agree more with that. And now we'll get into the Ravens offense versus the Bucs defense. Todd Bowles as a head coach, not as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator, and now head coach for the Bucs. His run defense, 2019 first, 2020 first, 2021 third, 2022 15th, 2023 fourth, and then this year 24th in the league in rushing yards per play. They're 19th in missed tackles. Well, it'll be interesting to see if Vita Vea can play. Last week, they held out AK Alvin Kamara to 40 yards and just 3 yards a carry with Vita Vea back and Winfield back and Kancey back. But, Vita Vea might not play this week, so we'll see. Overall in defense, Bucs are 26th in total yards, 29th against the pass. So not great there. And then overall against the run, 13th, but they are 24th in yards per carry given up. Ravens are number 1 in third down conversions, number 1 offense in total yards. I mean, they're number 1 in almost everything on the offensive side of the ball. Zay Flowers, with back-to-back 100-yard games, I think he's number 2 or number 3 in the NFL in yards and receptions last 2 weeks. Bateman's been looking really, really good. Derrick Henry's going to be rough. I kind of look at this going into this game, guys. The Bucs are going to have to choose. They're going to have to choose if they want to stop the run or if they want to stop the pass. If you guys were Todd Bowles, what are you doing?
This is a very tough situation because you literally you can't. You just can't. You got to stop Derrick Henry, who right now is literally, quite literally in his prime, having the greatest season so far of his career. Then you got Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, absolute playmaker, best dual threat of all time, who is absolutely slinging it through the air right now and just absolutely torching defenses through the air, which has always been, the hypothetical, like, oh, he can't throw, he can't throw. And right now he is absolutely showing that he can. So right now, if I'm Todd Bowles, I think you got to do everything in your power to stop this rushing attack from Baltimore and just hope that Lamar Jackson doesn't torch you through the air. But good luck trying to stop Derrick Henry with Todd Monken just scheming up this amazing game plan with Lamar, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and all this just juggernaut crap that's going on. So good luck. But if you have to pick one, I think that realistically they're gonna basically sell it all and try to stop the run. But I don't know to what magnitude that's going to be. If that means holding Derrick Henry to under 100 yards, then congratulations. So I realistically don't think there's anything but themselves that can stop this Ravens offense right now. Realistically, I think themselves are the only ones that can stop uh, this train that they're on. But these defenses are going to do everything they can to stop this rushing attack because right now it's absolutely leading this Ravens offense, man, and it's opening up everything through the air for the wide receivers and Lamar to just kind of do what everyone has said he can never do.
Yeah, if I'm Todd Bowles, like I really don't know what to do. Like I would say that taking away the run is the number one idea, right? But then on the other hand, the Ravens passing game has been so elite these last 2 weeks that maybe you go with that as your kind of lead for the defense and allow your big bodies like Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey. And now that they have Antoine Winfield back, I feel like they're not going to have this issue with 19th in missed tackles. They're not going to have this issue with 24th in the league in rushing yards per play. Like their big bodies up front being out for a few games this year, I think has completely turned that number. And then if you factor in someone like Antoine Winfield, who we know is a Pro Bowl level safety, crashing down and being able to really help out the secondary, I would think that Bowles would stick to who he is and stop the rushing attack. But I would think it's pretty smart if you can find a way to allow your D line to play almost like really gap consistent, like really crashing whenever any Derrick Henry inside action takes place. And then for secondary wise, like I don't think they really have the secondary to contain our receivers right now. Likely and Andrews, if they get involved, it's probably game over. Like I really think it's that level of the Ravens' efficiency. And I don't know if Brad mentioned it. The Ravens are first and third down conversions. It feels like whenever the Ravens have a third down, it's like, all right, we'll get this. But like it's always a little stress. Like it feels I feel confident in third downs now. I don't know about you guys or anyone else's fans. It feels like it's going to happen. And even with that and with how Zay's playing, I just feel confident. The Bucs defense is good. The stats are kind of evil against it. I feel like they're negative in the wrong ways, and I think we'll see a different team that stats would say on paper.
Yeah, Zach, you mentioned the third downs, and I talked about this a little bit within the past couple of weeks, just playing the Commanders and playing the Bengals, and I mentioned how it doesn't feel like the Ravens are going to blow leads, at least right now, because defenses are unable to stop them at all on the defensive side of the ball. And, you look at these Ravens third down conversions sometimes, and it's like it just feels inevitable some points. It feels like how I used to feel watching Tom Brady against the Ravens or Peyton Manning against the Ravens, where you finally get them into a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 15. And Lamar and the Ravens have just picked it up anyway. Lamar will hit Aguilar off a crosser, Zay on a crosser. Andrews will just be wide open down the sideline for some reason. And like this just keeps happening. And I think it's just tough. And you even look at situations where the defense knows the Ravens are going to throw the ball and they still pick it up. So yeah, Derrick Henry's done a lot, but this is the best Ravens passing game we've seen in a long, long time, if not ever. I mean, the Ravens have never really had a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees slinging the ball. Yes, they had Flacco, but in terms of efficiency, this might be the best passing offense we've seen at least through 6 weeks for Baltimore. And I really don't see a way that the Bucs are going to slow down the offense. I mean, I've kind of felt this way the past couple of weeks, but I felt this way with the Cowboys very much so, and then now the Bucs. It's just you got to pick something. If you don't pick anything, you're not going to stop either. If you just play normal neutral defense, you're not going to stop the run or the pass. I mean, you can try to load the box like Dawson said, but Lamar's thrown 320 plus the past 2 games with a 110 passer rating. I mean, I don't really know what you're going to do. But then if you go, we're going to stop the pass, Derrick Henry might run for 200. So I agree with what you guys said. Ravens might put up 35, 40 points as long as they don't beat themselves.
That's really the only thing stopping this team is themselves right now. And I know we haven't had this situation in, quite a few weeks, which thank God. But realistically, I mean, the last couple of seasons, the majority of our losses, and obviously we say this as fans, and there could be a little bias there or whatever, or self-coping or whatever you want to call it, but like realistically, if you look at the majority of this team's losses over the last 3 seasons, playoffs included, 5 seasons, playoffs included, they're all self-made errors. They're all self-induced mistakes, and they're all things that the Ravens, could have executed better. It's you like very rarely do we have a team genuinely outplay us. I can't remember the last time a team genuinely outplayed the Ravens and beat them in a good, clean, mistake-free football game. I can't remember it. I'll be honest. So the only thing stopping this team right now from achieving the ultimate goal is themselves. They have the team on paper to do it. They have a great roster. They're executing on offense right now with such efficiency. Like Brad said, it's insane. Like our offense right now is no doubt. Like every time we get the ball, I expect a touchdown. It's just I'm like, this is gonna be a scoring drive, at least a field goal. Like I don't expect a 3-and-out. I don't expect anything. So the only thing stopping this team right now is errors, mistakes, them shooting themselves in the foot. So hopefully we're away from that for at least for a long time, as we have been for the last few weeks. This team is playing fantastic football right now, but they have another really big test in front of them tomorrow night down in Tampa, and I hope we can come out on top. But this is a very tough test, and after this, I'm not calling any games easy at all. Obviously, there's no such thing as easy in the NFL, but our schedule does get a little more favorable after this week, I would say, if anything. And we're not talking about the following games, but I will say after tomorrow night's game, our schedule gets a little more favorable in my eyes, I would say. So hopefully they can get this win and kind of keep pushing into this more favorable stretch down the field.
Dawson, now that you mention it, I really can't think of a game that the Ravens were just outplayed. I mean, when was the last time the Ravens got blown out? Could you maybe say like 2021 Bengals?
It's not even that like when's the last time we got blown out? It's the last game we played where we had no turnovers, we didn't have a ton of penalties, and we didn't just play bad football. It's not about that. It's when's the last time we lost a game with no mistakes, clean football, and just got genuinely outplayed and beat. I can't remember it. I'm serious. I would have to roll back seasons. I would have to go look at every loss and look at how many penalties we had, how many turnovers we had, how many awful play call. Like it just doesn't happen. We just don't get genuinely outplayed. We're one of the better teams in the league, and that's obvious. Like I think anyone can agree with that. And just a lot of our losses, man, are truly, truly on ourselves. It's on bad coaching. It's on mistakeful football. Dirty games where you get a ton of penalties. It's just like that's just you're beating yourself, man, at that point. And it's like, it doesn't matter how good you are if you keep doing that to yourself. It's we saw it first 2 games to open the season this year. We were 0-2, and everyone was about ready to sell the team, myself included. We were all upset because we were justifiably so upset because we dropped the game where we had like 20 penalties against the Chiefs, and we were this close to tying it. And then we had a lead against the Raiders at home and blew it up in the second half and lost. And then the following week, Carolina goes into Las Vegas and beats the Raiders. So it's like those are games that the Ravens could have won, should have won, to be honest. And the only thing beat them in those situations are themselves. So as long as this team plays clean football and plays Ravens football, man, it's hard to really bet against them.
I'm actually gonna go against the grain here a little bit, guys. Chiefs week 1 was probably the only way that I would say was not the other team really beating us. I feel like the Raiders, it was kind of, if you get a 10-point lead on anyone in the NFL, you have to win that game, especially when it was 8 minutes left, something like that. Yeah. I feel like if you do that and you don't, and especially don't keep the ball away from them, like they didn't do, I think they started whatever drive to give them the ball back with some Lamar sack, and then that all feels that feels like you could say it's self-inflicted, but on the other hand, that's also them outplaying your offensive line. That's their defense outcoaching them. I think the AFC Championship, as bad as it was, I also would say that the Chiefs just outplayed them as well in that. I don't love saying that they got lucky with like penalties, because I feel like week 1, that was like opening drive. It was like, all right, the refs are going to make an example out of the Ravens.
Yeah,
like that's like a totally different game. The championship is, you could say that Zay Flowers' fumble is on him as much as anyone else. But on the other hand, that's a great defensive play. That's creating a fumble. That's not necessarily it goes both ways. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm saying that we can see it as both. And it's better, honestly, that the Ravens take it as self-inflicted rather than the other team doing it, because it shows that we can be better. It shows that we can always make improvements.
What's up, son? Appreciate you for being here. Yeah, we got a nice, relaxed Sunday of football here. I honestly love when the Ravens don't play, not because I dislike watching the Ravens, but just being able to watch Red Zone for 7 hours. I mean, that's my favorite day of the week. That's my favorite day of the week right there.
Yeah. And you can just watch the AFC North lose. It's great.
Yeah, especially this season.
AFC North hate party here today, boys. We got to hate watch
them. Anyway, Zach, to your point about the Ravens and the AFC Championship, I feel like, yes, you could say that it's like a great play against Flowers at the goal line. At the same time, like, he probably shouldn't have dove, and that is a mistake. And also, even though and like Lamar got strip sacked too, and threw the pick to Likely in the end zone, like, I think there's multiple times that game where if the Ravens just didn't turn the ball over and even kick field goals, they might win that game. And even, at the same time, you could say the coaches didn't play their best game at the same time with just not running the ball and all that. But to move on with this Bucs game, next segment, which non-quarterback needs to have a good game? Zach, we'll start with you here. Who are you thinking for the Bucs?
I'm pointing at the running backs. Sean Tucker had the most rushing yards in the league last week. And Derrick Henry had like 130, 120 something? Like, dude, Sean Tucker balled out. He's getting some explosive plays. And not to mention Bucky Irving. We talked about him earlier. He's given them a real threat in the running attack. And that's also what makes the Bucs so good on offense, is that their rushing game is so good. And the receivers are so good. It just perfectly couples and makes a dangerous offense. What the difference for this game is, those two need to have a big game. But like, if they can give the Bucs some explosive running plays, the Ravens haven't seen that at all this year. There hasn't really been a guy that breaks off, 15 yards for a rush. It feels like not even that much. Like, if they can get, a free first down or 2 or 3, like on a drive, they are going to score a lot of points this game. And they're my 2 guys to watch for this game for sure.
See, when you think about this game, there's how do I say this? There's very big strengths and there's very big weaknesses. When the question is which non-quarterback needs to have a big game, I'm thinking about Tampa's biggest challenge in this matchup. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, I don't think it is moving the ball on the Ravens defense, which would be their biggest challenge. I don't think that's the case. I think the biggest challenge in this game is limiting the Baltimore Ravens offense. So I think immediately which defensive player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has to have a big game, because that's going to be their biggest test, is stopping or limiting this Baltimore Ravens offense. I don't think Tampa's going to have an issue moving on the Ravens defense, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but until I see that in a game, until we see that as fans, it's hard to sit here and think otherwise. We got to see this Ravens defense step up and stop an offense before we can really be confident in them doing that. And right now, unfortunately, I'm just not. So I'm going to the defensive side of the ball for Tampa. And when I look at the Tampa Bay defense, I hate to say it too, but I don't really see like a bunch of stars. It's a good defense overall, but there's not like a specific player like he jumps off the screen at you. Vita Vea would probably be the one, of course, but he's questionable to play. More than likely, he's probably going to play, but he's a defensive tackle. I mean, he's just, you know what you're getting from him. He's a very big disruptor in the front end. He absolutely wrecks offensive lines, and he gave Tyler Linderbaum I'm pretty sure, when did they play? 2 years ago? And I'm pretty sure Linderbaum was our center at the time. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure
gave him the work. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Vita Vea had his way against Tyler that day, but it was his rookie year, so hopefully Linderbaum has improved since then, which he has. But I'm going to the back end of their defense, man, because their secondary is a big issue right now in Tampa, and they've been getting kind of exposed at times by these quarterbacks. And Ravens' strength right now, man, is the passing game and offense as a whole. I'm gonna have to go with Antoine Winfield in the back end of Tampa Bay secondary. This secondary is gonna have a big game against Lamar, and losing Jamel Dean's a big loss, obviously. And I think overall, I think it's just the whole secondary for Tampa that needs to have a big game. But you got to go to the head of their secondary, Antoine Winfield, at safety. He's got to help limit this defense or offense. I'm sorry, this passing attack by Baltimore that is going in every direction right now. Outside the numbers, across the middle, like horizontal, vertical, they're all over the place, and they're having their way. Lamar is torching defenses, man. And I know it's not just a secondary; it's a middle of the field through the linebackers too. But I think this Tampa defense has to do something tomorrow night against this Baltimore offense, because you have to have a specific game plan or you are just going to get absolutely torched. You got to have a game plan to hopefully shut down one side of the ball, or it's going to be an ugly night for you. And I think Antoine Winfield obviously is a very good player, a very good safety. He's a ball hawk. He's all over the field, and he's going to have a big time role tomorrow night, as he always does, to hopefully on their side of the ball limit this Baltimore passing offense.
Yeah, I like both of your guys' takes. I agree with Dawson. The Bucs are going to have to make some stops against the passing game, and Antoine Winfield is that guy there. And then, like Zach said, if the Bucs can run the ball with Tucker and Irving and maybe White, I mean, how are the Ravens going to stop them if they're running the ball and they're going to be able to pass the ball? We'll just say that right there. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin for my player. I actually was going to take Mike Evans, but I wasn't sure if he was playing or not. Turns out he is. But, it feels sort of not right almost to pick the guy who's probably been their best player all season. But if he has, 100, 115, 125 yards, Bucs are putting up 30 points, right? And I just see that as a guy who, if the Ravens somehow shut down Godwin and maybe Evans at the same time, then that'd be crazy. And the Bucs would maybe not have anyone to go to. So just Godwin staying consistent, keep doing what he's doing, I would say, and the Bucs will be able to put up some points. Moving on to the Ravens side of things in terms of who needs to have a good game, we are all sort of in agreement here. I'm going to go ahead and say mine. I went with Marcus Williams. Definitely not had a season up to his standards so far. I think it might be blown out of proportions a little bit, where last week he just happens to be the closest guy to the ball and a touchdown that's caught. Obviously, maybe you'd expect him to make the play, but he's not perfect. So now he's sort of in the situation where he's the guy that everyone's looking at. If he's near the ball on any big play, he's getting the blame no matter what. And that's just how it's been. But at the same time, he does need to play better. And I want to see him. We know that he can be a 7 interception guy for a season. I mean, that first game with the Dolphins, not first game, week 2, 2022, his second game with us, he had, I still can't remember if it was 1 or 2 picks, but he had 1 pick, a great jump on the ball, then another great jump on the ball. I think he dropped it. It was kind of like a diving pick, but he was all over the place in 2022 before he got hurt. Then last year, even with one arm, still playing great football. I just think he needs to have a good game in order the Ravens have success. I'll kick it to Dawson here because Zach has a different answer, and I thought Dawson's answer was pretty funny here.
Listen, all I'm going to say is I 100% agree with Brad. Right now, Marcus Williams, justifiably so, is a scapegoat for this poor defensive play. Just because he's a big free agent signing, but he's a star safety. He's supposed to be good. And you look at it last year, he had a better season last year, and he had literally one arm. He had a torn pec, and he was playing much better than he is right now. And I will say, all I'm going to say is this is how the NFL works, man. I'm going to predict it. Tomorrow night, Marcus Williams is going to make a game-changing play in this game. There's no doubt in my mind. It's how the NFL works. I don't know if it's going to be an interception. I don't know if it's going to be a forced fumble or a fumble recovery, a pick six. It's going to be something. Marcus Williams is going to make a huge play tomorrow night in the game. I literally,
like it.
I can just see it happening. It's going to happen because Zach Orr said, I think yesterday, that they realize Marcus Williams right now can play better football. He knows that. The whole team knows that. Coaches, players, himself included. And he had his best week of practice this week, apparently, according to Zach Orr. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure Marcus Williams knows right now that his play is not exactly well liked amongst the fan base and the team as a whole. But I agree with that. I can't pick one specific player for who needs to play better, who needs to have a big game. I'm just going with the 11 guys across the field from Baker Mayfield when he's out there. I think the whole defense really needs to step up. I hate to be this guy. I'm a biggest Ravens fan as anyone watching this, anyone that we are right now. But this Ravens defense, man, is not good. It's a disaster right now. Our pass defense, man, is horrid, and I'm sick of it because it's not normal for Baltimore. We're used to great defenses, and I get the running side of the defense, rushing, we're great, but the pass defense, man, is really bad right now, and it's very frustrating because we have really good players back there. Our secondary coming into the season had really high expectations, and through 6 weeks now, it's not like it's week 3, it's week 7. Through 6 weeks, we are still amongst the dead last in every category as far as passing attack. So our defense needs to step up, dude, and this is a big test tomorrow night. Baker Mayfield is no worse than any of the guys who played the last 4 weeks. And this is exactly like all the last games. And we're going into their turf on Monday Night Football. And there's there's a rivalry between Lamar and Baker. So this game means a lot to both parties. And I think Baker knows that. And he is playing great this season. So this Ravens defense needs to step up tomorrow night, come out here and finally show what they can do and smack them in the mouth and play hard defense and just not get gashed. And I think they could. There's a really good chance they can do it tomorrow night. And I just I need to see this Ravens defense step up, man, and make some plays because this Ravens defense is too talented and too stacked to be getting gashed the way they are every game.
Yeah, I honestly wanted to pick defense too. I was really close to picking Brandon Stevens. I feel like he's going to have a tall task with Godwin. And I really wanted to pick Kyle Van Noy. I feel like we haven't heard his name as much with the sack numbers. But I'm going offense. I want Rashad Bateman to really have another one of those games like last week. It feels like for really the receiving game, our only deep touchdown threat right now has been Bateman. We've had Kolar and Aguilar get big plays this season, just not end with a touchdown. Anything that's been, 15, 16 plus yards for a touchdown has been Bateman. I guess Mark had one last week, but in that range, Bateman's our guy. I think a lot of attention is going to be on Zay Flowers. His back-to-back 100-yard games is not a fluke. He's literally just destroying whatever corners put on him. And I could see him getting the elite wide receiver treatment. I could see them focusing on him a little bit more. But also with Bateman, I think it's a question of how he plays against his guys because he's going to be getting corner 3 now that Jamal Dean is out. I mean, I want to see a big game from him. I want to see a deep touchdown from someone like him. I'm ready for that play. I just to bang on the same drum, with our players being capable of making the long plays, like Andrews had that long catch last week, Kolar in the past, Aguilar with the Cowboys. Everything's been long. They're there. They're really there. It's just they don't really have the speed. I feel like Bateman's one of those guys. Zay's one of those guys. And we could see it Monday night.
I am starting Rashad Bateman in one of my fantasy leagues this week because I'm anticipating a big-time game from him. I am all aboard. I am all aboard the Rashad Bateman game this week. I'm not sure why. I think Rashad Bateman has a huge game tomorrow night. And yeah, I am starting him in a league, and I am starting him over some pretty good players. It's not
Let's
like
go.
I was forced to start Rashad Bateman. I legitimately think he has a big-time game this week, and I think he's starting to stack a couple games now. He's establishing some sort of chemistry with Lamar. He's finding his role within the offense, and he's feeling good. He's got good spirits right now. He's flying high, and I think it continues this week against not bad, but very vulnerable at times and injured defense right now for Tampa. So I think he has a big time game, and I'm hoping so because I'm starting him. So all aboard the Rashad Bateman train. I think he scores a touchdown tomorrow night. That's my bold prediction. I think he has a big time game.
I feel like it might have something to do with him being the guy we all wanted in 2021, but he's just always been one of my favorite Ravens these past 3 years. And I've been rooting for him so hard, almost more than any other Raven besides Lamar, just to break out and to maybe have that finally happen this year would be awesome. Sutton in here, I'm feeling Isaiah likely masterclass this week. It would be telling because, fitting, I would say, as Isaiah likely sort of first breakout game was against the Bucs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that'd definitely be cool to see. I could definitely see. I feel like likely similar to Lamar, just in prime time, always showing out. Let's get in here, guys, with our final score predictions. In my opinion, I feel like I don't know how the Bucs are going to stop the Ravens. I just don't really know what exactly they're going to do. As Don C's in here, what's up, Don C? Hate waiting for football. Yeah, we do too. We do too. That's why we're trying to pass the time here till 1 p.m. hits. Appreciate you for being here, Don C. So I got Ravens 35, Bucs 24. I think the Bucs are going to have a nice game on offense. I think the Ravens are going to have an insane game on offense. So we'll see about that. Comment from KP here. Do you think the pass defense is so bad because teams realize they can't run on us, so they pass a lot, which inflate the numbers a bit? I think that definitely could have a little bit to do with it. These teams probably are just like, what's the point in even trying to run the ball? I think what we talked about earlier, we might see the Bucs try that out with all these running backs that they have, and they've been able to run the ball this year. But I got Ravens 35, Bucs 24. Zach, what you got?
I'm up there with the score too. Like, this is a lot of points. That over-under of 49.5 is very telling to me as well. I like what Dawson said earlier. He was like, yeah, take that over. Yes, sir. I'm like it 34-29 Ravens. I could see it being kind of weird in the end with maybe like a Buccaneers run where they're going to get like a late touchdown, try and get a 2-point conversion, don't get it. And then Ravens just kind of clutch it out. Give it to the closer, King Henry himself, and in that game. It should be a good game no matter what. I'm just hoping it's not really hey, let Baker have a drive at the end of the game to try and win. I don't want that, please.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think the Ravens offense continues this role. I think they absolutely just light it up in Tampa, and I don't want to get too hopeful, but like I said with the defense, until I see something that legitimately proves for me to think otherwise, I can't pick against it. Like our offense right now, man, is clicking on all cylinders. And until I see a team legitimately try to stop this and limit it, I just can't pick against it. I think the Ravens come out here. Defense figures it out a little bit. Second half, I think they kind of limit this Buccaneers offense, and I think we win 38-23. I think Ravens offense keeps it going, man. The whole head of steam, and I think this Ravens defense responds a little bit to Baker. I think early and often Tampa kind of has their way, but I think in the second half we come out, make some adjustments, and I think we get the job done. 38-23. I think the Ravens improve to 5-2 and keep it rolling all the way into Cleveland next week. So I hope so.
Yeah, so we all got Ravens in the 30s and Bucs in the 20s. We'll see if that ends up happening. Man, definitely exciting for this one. I'm excited to see, not that I'm going to watch it live, but seeing clips of Flacco and Ed Reed on the Manicast. That's going to be a great watch. You guys got any final thoughts in this one? Anyone in the comments got any final thoughts?
I did want to add. Yeah. I think our predictions for the Ravens score for freaking 35, 34, 38. That is so high. Holy crap. But it's also showing that the offense is playing that good. They're playing like the number one offense. And I wanted to note that really since the Chiefs game, the defenses that we've been playing can't match up to us skill position wise. I feel like the defensive line for the Buccaneers, this is going to be the first time where it definitely does match up. And the secondary doesn't. So that still kind of makes me want to take a lot of points for the Ravens. But maybe in these next few weeks, the Browns, the Broncos, good skill position guys in the secondary, that can be a real test. But we're kind of all over the Ravens' absolute heater of an offensive streak they're on. I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like if there's not really the perfect skill positions to guard them, like the Chiefs have such a good few corners that really get into your wide receivers. Other than that, there's not really going to be a team that we play that has a team like that really makes you sell out on the run, like freaking 9 guys in the box and 2 corners out left and right. Like, no one's going to be playing us like that. I could see the Broncos doing it because they're just kind of a weird team. But I just wanted to add that. I feel like that had to be said.
Yeah, and one last thing for me, Ravens are just a few games away from getting the 100-yard rushing streak again. They had one faulty game where they didn't rush for 100 yards, but because they only tied it with the Steelers. They didn't end up breaking
Who did they not get it against? Do we know?
I saw a comment say that I think it was Colts Monday night when
really
the Ravens came back.
Wow.
Because all he did is pass.
Which would make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who was our starting running back that game? Was it Tyson Williams? I think it was Tyson Williams, yeah. Yeah, it was.
Man, he was
Yikes.
He was so good for a couple games.
Never got utilized.
Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the rushing.
Yeah, streak.
The Ravens, the game that they will break it will be against the Steelers. So, and the Steelers are the team who the Ravens are tied with in the all-time record. So
wow,
that would suck if the Ravens don't get it in that game.
That's
but
script.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Appreciate everyone for being here. I almost said tonight. This is like our first live ever in the morning. So everyone have a good NFL Sunday. We'll be back Monday, probably about 11:30 p.m. discussing Ravens Bucs post-game reaction. So see you guys. Peace.